Andre Blake, injured. Ethan Pinnock, injured. Leon Bailey, injured. And even Demario Gray, injured. Yeah, people, welcome back to Jamaica Fun, and this is the Jamaica versus Bermuda World Cup Qualifiers preview. And to be honest with you guys, I'm a little bit nervous. And it's not just because of the numerous injuries or absentees for this upcoming match, but it kind of started from the squad that was announced. Again, it goes back to that midfield. I'm kind of still not too happy with it. Yes, it seemed that we got cover for Hayden finally, but I still believe we need to wrap him up in a lot of cotton and make sure nothing even come close to him, because we can't afford what happened to us in the last window to happen again with him missing matches. Sure, you have Ian Frey, who's a new kid coming around that's supposed to be covered in a CDM role, but to be honest with you, I've watched a lot of Inter Miami in the last few years, and he hasn't really played that role since his academy days and the first year in the senior team. He's mostly been playing a lot of right back and occasionally at centre back. There's also Kevin Lambert, who can be considered almost a veteran on the national team by now. He's been in and out of the squad over the years, and while he has built a stable career at CDM, he's not exactly at the level of an Isaac Hayden. But my biggest issue with the midfield, honestly, right now, is just the lack of creativity. If you look at the names there, it's really only Palmer that have any sense of playmaking ability. Now, when most people saw the list and only saw Palmer there, they already interpret that it would be Demario Gray that would slide back in midfield and play as one of the more advanced number 8s. But no, he has gone down injured, and that's a big hit to our creativity in the attack. And I know some of you are basically saying already, why am I nervous? It's just Bermuda, and I will touch on them a little bit later. But I am nervous because of recent games that we had against Dominican Republic, or the one against Cuba, or even the more recent one, which is what this game kind of mirror itself off, is our not so memorable trip to the British Virgin Islands. Before that game, a lot of people were expecting things like 6 and 7 and 8 love, and yet we barely scraped by with a 1-0 victory. A lot of that was down to the fact that the British Virgin Islands sat up in a mid to low block and invited us to be on the ball and invited us to try and break them down, which we simply failed miserably at. Yeah, we got a lot of possession between the centre backs, but once it comes to advancing the ball quick enough through the lines in the final third, we were just basically void of ideas. And even when we saw a passing lane to get the ball through, we were just simply too slow in our movements and passing, and we saw that gap close up. Something we just can't afford to do against Bermuda, who I expect to play fairly similarly. And during that match, when our build-up was just simply not working, I didn't quite see a change in approach, or hardly saw any real squares into the box, or any long passes from out deep to cause trouble in that box. This is where somebody like Shamar Nicholson might come in handy. We need somebody that's a big target striker and basically rough around in that penalty box to cause some chaos. And if we just go fast and direct and try hit them early, maybe we can get some good results. Because again, I'm lacking faith in this midfield conjuring up major chances. And now talking about our opponents, of course, we must mention they're much better than the British Virgin Islands. They normally sit in a shape of 4-1-4-1, and their game model is normally to sit in a mid to low block and look for quick transitions. They are very comfortable conceding from possession and springing forward to their wide runners rather than utilizing long spells of possession. When they win the ball, look for them to look for their target number 9 or try to hit the channels on either flank. And they are also a team that utilizes their set pieces to try to get 1 or 2 goals on the board. And just to highlight, there are no pushovers. To get to this round, they had to beat Cuba twice, including a big 2-1 victory in Havana. They are especially tough at home at the Dame Flora Duffy National Sports Center, where their recent record shows that they have 3 wins and 1 loss in their last 4 matches played there. That includes 17 goals scored and 8 conceded. So what should Jamaica try to do to stop them from playing their game? One of the things that we need to do is break their transition chain. Try to press their number 6 or their centre backs from launching ball to their big number 9, and even if you could not manage to do so, try to win those first and second balls, once they are played to him. As for the attack, we need our front 3 to be rotating often, especially in the space between their holding midfielder and the back 4. That is the space that Honduras especially exploited in their recent 5-3 victory. We should also take special care in defending against their set pieces. But alright, I want to now highlight 3 key players for us heading into this match before we tackle the 3 key players for Bermuda as well. And I'm going to start with a player who I believe who holds the key to a positive result. And again, that is Casey Palmer. I want you all to just completely forget about what he done in the Gold Cup. Yes, he was dreadful, so was most of the team. I want y'all to think about that game in the National Stadium against Cuba where he was playing in a more advanced position and how much better he looked on the ball. Because that's the Casey Palmer we're going to need. Well, we're going to need even more from that version that we see against Cuba to really make sure we unlock this mid to low block that's coming up on Friday. Can he produce it? Well, I feel this window, and especially this game, got to be his last great chance to really get into the good graces of the Reggae Boyz fans. The other player that should have a very key role on Friday, in fact through the entire window, is young Kaim Dixon. There is no Leon Bailey, there is no Demarai Gray, so no, Dixon has to be the one to step up out on that wing and not play a supportive role, but play as one of the team's most influential attackers. Again, when you're facing a very low block, this is where your wingers especially will come in handy, especially in the 1v1s to chip away at that defensive line. Many of you guys always believed that Dixon should start over Bailey. Well, here's his chance to prove all you guys right. And the final player I want to highlight here is our backup goalkeeper Jamali Waite. Again, there's no Andre Blake, and he showed in that Gold Cup just how important he is still to the team. But he's not here, and Waite had to step in, somebody who has been a part of the setup for a while now, and somebody who I have some faith in based on his performances he had in last year's Copa America. I was worried then, but he quickly showed to us all that he has no problem filling the boots of Andre Blake. I'm hoping and expecting him to have a quiet game on Friday, but you never know, so I hope he's sharp and on his toes. But okay, that's the Jamaican trio we were looking at. Time for the Bermuda team. A lot of you are not familiar with them, so let me introduce to you the 3 key players I think we should look out for. Starting with their most experienced striker, Naki Wells. He has been in and around the top 2 divisions of England for some time now. He had a very productive stint with Bristol City in the English Championship last year, where he featured in 43 matches and scored 10 goals. And he has now moved on to Luton since the summer. He has scored the most goals for Bermuda in the Gold Cup with 6 goals in 5 games. And his recent return to the national team in October of last year saw him net a hat-trick and assist against Dominica. Overall, he has 20 goals in 28 caps. But I did mention earlier that Bermuda like to use their wingers, and the next player I want to mention is a key one for them, who is Jar Parfit. He's a dynamic forward who's currently playing in Finland's top league with FC Haka. Since his debut for the national team in 2022, he has tallied 3 goals in 13 appearances, but the last one of those came in that famous 2-1 victory in Cuba. He's very speedy and he dribbles well, and look for him to consistently trying to stretch our defense as he's trying to pick up on those long passes. Alright, the final player for Bermuda I want to highlight is somebody who's very versatile, and that's the defender Denisha Hill. He's a player that's currently playing his trade in the National League North in England, but he got his big start in football as a member of the Leicester City Academy. He's multi-dimensional and tactically astute, and he brings flexibility, technical ability, and leadership to Bermuda's back line. Despite he have the ability to play both forward and midfield, fully expect him to be at left back. Alright, but before I run out of here, here's my starting 11 I will want to see on the pitch on Friday at 5 p.m. That will be Waite in goal, of course. Greg Lee will get a big chance at left back since Bell is not here. Lowe is the more experienced centre back in the team, but I will save him for Trinidad and have a Kin and Olgate centre pairing. At right back, it just has to be Dexter Lemon-Keister. In midfield, of course, it should be Hayden in the centre defensive midfield role, and he should be flanked by Palmer and Russell, of course. Dixon will get his big chance at the right wing, and this is where things get a bit interesting. Tyrese Campbell has been waiting for his big chance, but I just believe the coach is going to try Cephas first, and if anything, we'll make the sub later on. Then the biggest headache of the night will be who plays striker. All of them except Bailey Katamari has not scored in weeks, but I would go with Shamar Nicholson, who again has a good record against Caribbean teams, and I think if we decide to go more direct and get squares into the box much earlier, that will suit his game much better. But it's a toss-up really. We may just see Warner Brown out on the field on Friday. But alright guys, that's all I got for this Jamaica versus Bermuda preview show. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of the upcoming match, or what you think about how we're going to deal with all these injuries. And are you feeling nervous? Or you do believe we got this in the bag? But otherwise, please like, subscribe and share as we look to keep you all up to date on everything on the Reggae Boyz throughout our final 6 World Cup qualifying matches. Otherwise, for great Reggae Boyz content, you're already at the right place, Jamaica fan. YouTube, big up yourself.